words and lines and drawings and connecting, and apparently been very queer. But how are you finding your way in life? And this is a question that I've been obsessed with for a long time, and so, here we go. And so I'm going to show you kind of where it all started. So I've got a picture here of me and my brothers and sisters. Can you guess which one's me? I used to wear glasses. So I like to show you this picture because it's me and my siblings. I've got my sister Sarah, Gemma, Darren, Lisa, and Lucy. And they're all blonde and blue-eyed. They were when I was growing up. And I was brown with an afro. And so that was my first passport in life in a way, because I didn't look like my family. I didn't look like anyone I lived around. I didn't look like anyone in school. And people would ask me, Chantel, how come you're black and your sisters are white? And I'd be like, I'm not black. Where'd you get that idea from? I've probably just been in the sun or something like that. And so my mum never actually told me, oh, Chantel, you have a different dad to your brothers and sisters, and therefore you are looking like this, and your sisters are looking like that. She didn't even tell me that. So the way that I learned that is that when I walked out of my house, people treated me differently. When I walked outside of my house, people put their emotional baggage onto me. They decided what I was. In my house, those were my siblings. They were my brothers and sisters. We had the same mum, we ate the same food, we went to the same school. It didn't matter. But as soon as I left my house, every single day, people told me, why are you this and why are they that? Why are you this and why are they that? Why do you look like this and why do you look like that? People bring their baggage to you. And so if anything today, just think about that. We all have assumptions about people, where they're from and their families and their upbringing. But let's leave those assumptions outside the door. And so I grew up in this lovely place called Thamesmead. Has anyone heard of Thamesmead? Yeah? Okay, unlucky you. It's in southeast London. It was built in the late 1960s, and it was one of these kind of utopian projects after World War II when they needed to build new housing because a lot of it was destroyed after the war. And so, some architect had this really great idea. Let's build really beautiful concrete towers that go up and up and up, and you can walk for miles and miles and miles without even going on the ground. And so it was one of these places that had a lot of kind of excitement about it, and even the Queen came. The Queen came herself to welcome the first family of Thamesmead. Welcome to this utopian place. And after a few years, many decades, it became something we called a sink estate. And a sink estate is basically, you can imagine this, you put all the problem families from around the country and you dump them in one place. And now you imagine what that place looks like 10 years later, 20 years later, 30 years later. It has lack of resources, lack of imagination, lack of expectations, lack of access. And so growing up in Thamesmead became like the backdrop of many things like The Misfits or Clockwork Orange or car commercials and stuff like that. So growing up there, it was interesting because the kind of work I created as a kid, which I didn't know was work, I didn't know it was art at the time, but I was kind of angry, and this was one of my first characters ever called Hangman. And Hangman was this robot that had a noose, but that noose was cut, and the hangman had a heart. So it was this robot that had this noose that was connected to the system, but it had this heart, it had this potential, it had this imagination. Not that Hangman knew that there was anything more than the world that it was growing up in. And I think Hangman was very much like myself then. I felt like I had this potential, but I had no imagination of where that potential could take me. And I used to do some writings like this, which I didn't even know were art at the time. So let's see if we can find those. I've lost my camera, so scrolling. This is interactive right here. There we go. Sometimes we need to get lost before we can be found. Okay, so here's some poems. And it says, lost, bound by drink. It takes you over bit by bit, and now you stink. I pour evil liquid down the sink. And here's another one. Fall against my resistance, my open arms closed to you. And this is the type of work I wrote as a teenager, and I didn't know it was art. I was just getting it out, and it made me feel better. And so some people be like, oh, Chantal, you're a bit weird, you know, you have holes in your clothes and you're always drawing. But I was allowed to be weird because I didn't look like anyone else around me. And some of you might relate to this. When there's something about you that is different from everyone else, it might be what you're listening to, it might be how you dress, it might be how you look. Actually, people give you a little bit of a get out of jail card. Not that it might seem like that at the time, because at the time you want to feel it. But anyway, growing up in Thamesmead, I was drawing, I was being angry, doing all that sort of thing. And it got to the point when I was probably about 16, I was at secondary school, high school, and it's about what do you do next? And no one in my family's ever finished school. My grandmother didn't finish, my mother didn't finish. Now my sisters didn't finish, and my nieces and nephews didn't finish, and no one around me ever finished school. So there wasn't like, I wanted to be anything other than anything I could see. So I didn't know what I wanted to do at 16. So I stayed at school until I was probably 19, and then it was about what do I do next? What do I do next? And I said to my art teacher, maybe I should do art. And he said, no, don't do that, Chantal. I was like, why not? He said, well, you should do something realistic. You know, you're good at running. You're a fast runner. Maybe you should do something like sports science. So I was like, okay. So I tried biology and physics, and after 2 weeks I dropped biology and physics, and I realized that wasn't my thing, and I went back to art. And I got into art school. I got into this school called Camberwell College of Arts. It's in South London, and it was incredible. I remember my first day, you know, I got in and I went. First day of school, you meet everyone. Everyone looked so different. Everyone had different coloured hair, different coloured clothes, were listening to different type of music. I remember this one guy, he was like, hi, my name's Paul and I'm gay. And I was like, Paul, you're going to get beaten up. And no one beat Paul up, because it was about being celebrated. It was about being unique. Art school was about being individual. Art school was about being yourself. And for the first time in my life, I was able to celebrate being different. For the first time in my life, it was okay to be different. And so if art school taught me anything, it taught me that you can be yourself and you can be unique. And so there I got to express myself, and I also met lots of students from Japan. And so that was great. And kind of after Camberwell College of Arts, it was like, what's the next thing to do? And people said, well, there's this school called Central St. Martin's. And I knew it because of the Pulp song. I was like, okay, well, maybe I should apply to get there because everyone's talking about it. So I applied to Central St. Martin's, I got in. Fast forward, 3 years later, I graduate from Central St. Martin's with a first class honours, top of my year, and I realised I'd never ever get a job in art because it's all nepotism anyway. That's what art school taught me. But the good thing about St. Martin's, even though it's a fancy school with a big reputation and it doesn't actually teach you anything, you meet really amazing people there. You meet really amazing people at school, and that's why we should go to school, not because we feel like we should learn anything. So, anyway, I graduated. Let's do a bit of a time check. So, I went to St. Martin's in the year 2000. Let's all grow up in the year 2000. And I graduated in 2003, and I didn't know what I was going to do then. And so I moved to Japan because I thought, well, I don't want to keep doing my part-time jobs in London, so let me go to Japan. I love Japan. All my friends were from Japan at art school. And so I got a job teaching English in Japan in the countryside. And it lasted about 7 months. I had a stalker, and a policeman said, it's okay, you're big. You don't have to worry about the stalker. And I said, okay. And then I moved. I moved to Tokyo. And so the drawing that I was doing in Japan, it changed. So it changed from this kind of angry work into this more detailed work. And so these drawings were almost diaristic, kind of thoughts and ideas, and much more detailed, and a little bit realistic, but still kind of dreamlike. And there was characters like this guy. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4 heads, and one head's eating his shoulder, but he has a very cute sweater on, and there's a bear in his pocket. And so it became something like creepy cute. So that was kind of fun being in Japan and doing this kind of creepy cute work. And so also something that happened in Japan is that I got asked to kind of do some live shows. So I was doing all these detailed drawings, and some of my friends did performances and events, and they said, Chantal, can you draw? We have a band playing, and we have you drawing, perhaps on a canvas next to the band. And I said, that sounds great, but the drawing I'm doing now is like really, really small. So what if I draw under a camcorder or a visual presenter or an OHP, and then we project that onto the band or behind the screen? And they said, great. So the first event I pretty much ever did, so I've got a little video clip here, so let's make that a little bigger there. So this is pretty much how I started my career. Are you ready for it? Yeah, okay, good, this will go Okay, that's enough. So the first time I started my career in Japan was as a VJ, or as a live illustrator, or as a live club drawer. And so I would be at the back of the room drawing, and that would be on the screen. And what I realized is that it was quite magical, actually. What I realized is that, if I'm drawing here and there's an audience and I'm drawing to the music and I don't really like the music, but I have to zone out because I'm doing what I'm doing, and maybe the crowd is going woo, and I would write woo, and then I would zoom that in and out and move that around. What I realized is that I didn't have time to think, I didn't have time to plan, I didn't have time to hesitate, I didn't have time to be insecure. But more importantly, I didn't have time to be anybody else but myself. Now think about this. You put yourself in a position where you have no time to think, no time to plan, no time to hesitate, no time to be insecure, no time to be anybody else but yourself. And then you repeat that, 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 and you repeat that. And over time you develop your story. Over time you extract your style. Over time you get to see what your fingerprint and identity look like. And that's pretty much it's a good time, And that's how I started my career, and eventually it evolved, and I did it digitally. And I would do these events where I would draw people's lives hidden all up. And what that meant is, I'd have maybe a minimal techno DJ playing music, and then I would have people stand against the wall, and I would draw on them and project on them, and I would change, basically create their moving, changing, hidden aura. And it worked really great, and I did this event multiple times. And years later, I tried this in America, and it just didn't work. Because you try and ask an American person, or European or something, stand there, don't move, I'm going to draw your moving, hidden aura. You can't do it. but anyway, the club scene was fun, and starting my career in the club scene was great, and fans would come up to me after and be like, Chantal, 저도 sign to lead this car, like, can you sign me? And I say, great. And then it turned into a series of collaborations where I would draw on my fans and work with different photographers to photograph that. And this is one of the first ones I did. It was in permanent marker. Don't ever do that again. I think poor Jamie had that for about 3 days. And so there was this series of drawing on my fans and having different photographers kind of capture those. And so that was a nice way of creating work that left you, that walked away, that you didn't own anymore. And so probably, being in Japan for a few years, I moved there in 2003 and started doing visuals around 2004, 2005, 6, 7, 8. I'm working with DJs, I'm working with dancers, I'm working with musicians. I've been voted top 10 VJ in the world twice. In these forums that they had at the time, they was all saying, Chantal Martin's not a real VJ, she draws. At least they were talking about me. And so what happened is things got comfortable, and I don't know if any of you have ever been in this situation where things get comfortable and you leave. In Japan, I had a fan base, I had a career, I was making some money, things started to get comfortable, and I didn't know what to do with that. And so I thought, I'm going to go to New York for a holiday. And so I came to New York for a holiday in 2008, and if any of you have done this, you get to New York for a holiday in 2008, and you say, I love this place, it's amazing. You meet people everywhere, in the restroom, in the park, on the street, it's amazing. And then so you say, I'm going to move here. You spend all your money, you get an immigration lawyer, you get an O1 visa, you move here. And then you're like, oh shit. lining up in the IRS office waiting for your Social Security card. But anyway, long story short, I moved to New York. It became a struggle. I ended up sleeping on friends' couches. But you know what? Struggle is good sometimes, because when you're comfortable in life, you do this, you flatline. When you're comfortable in life, you do this, you flatline. But when you're struggling creatively, you're up, you're down, you're up, you're down, you're being unique, you're hustling, you're trying new things, you're being creative. And so sometimes struggle is really good for you. So struggling in New York. I'm lucky I had this background actually of doing visuals in Japan. So I got asked to do conferences, to speak at these motion graphic conferences. And I always felt like I was a little bit of the wild card, because I'd be like, I just draw. But basically what I decided to do in New York is that when I got here, I was like, oh, I'm an artist. I should do what artists do. I should get a gallery. And so I'd meet with galleries and they say, oh, we love this detailed work, Chantel, where have you shown? And I say, oh, the club scene of Japan. And they would say, oh, well, thank you, but no thank you. And I'm like, oh, okay. So there was this catch-22 where you haven't shown, you won't show. You haven't shown, you won't show. And so I thought, well, I'm not going to not make art because they won't show it. So I kind of turned the world into my canvas in a way. So I started to draw on myself, on my shirts, on my shoes, on my bedroom walls, which kind of ended up in a very little publication on the cover of the New York Times. And I kept working like that, where it's like, if people don't give you an opportunity, you create your own opportunities. And how do you do that? You do that by using what you have access to. If people won't give you an opportunity, how do you create your own opportunities? You do it by using what you have access to, even if it's your own bedroom walls. And so after time, things changed, and I got asked to be a visiting scholar at MIT Media Lab. You might have heard of it. It's in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I'm the only person that they've ever let draw on their walls. And so I did this drawing at MIT, and the great thing about being at somewhere like MIT is that you can do this drawing and you can think out loud. I wonder how long the combined amount of lines in this drawing, and someone will put their hand up and say, I can tell you. How high is the wall? How long is the wall? How thick was the pen that you used? Okay, Chantel, it's approximately 1,664 feet long. And then I say thank you. And that's it. You go on about the day. And I love collaborating. So here's my grandmother. Her name was Dot Martin. It's a pretty cool name for your gran. And she was a collaborator of mine. For probably 15, 20 years, I would send her instructions and she would make a needlepoint sewing and send it back to me. So for example, I'd say, dear gran, please sew me, go home, any color, any size, and she would sew it and send it back to me, but then she would do things like this, and I said, I didn't ask for colour. So she was a pretty bad employee, but the whole point about this was a cross-generational project, a cross-generational collaboration, where, I would say, sew me, go home, and then I would call her and I'd say, grandmother, what does go home mean to you? And she says, go home to your own house, have a cup of tea, meet the family. And I said, well, do you realise people told me to go home to my own country? And she's like, what do you mean go home to your own country? You're from London. I say, yeah, but, And then we would get into these very deep conversations about race, and we didn't have to talk about the weather anymore. And I'm British, and we only talk about the weather. It was a really nice kind of reprieve there. And so, interested in a bunch of stuff, drawing, but I'm going to jump right over here. And so you remember that question I asked you when we started? It was that question of who are you and how are we finding our way? And actually someone told me last week, every person needs like a cheap trick. And so this is my cheap trick. Oh, that's a tongue twister. Cheap trick. All right. So how are you finding your way in life? I said I'm finding my way in life through this language of words and lines and drawings. But when we're finding our way, we actually need a destination. And so if we take these letters away, essentially this is my philosophy. I'm finding my way to Yay. Yay is this place of celebration. Yay is this place of understanding. Yay is this place of understanding self. But when we get to Yay, we all realize that we have so much more drawing? So much more learning. I've got so much more drawing to do. We've got so much more learning and drawing and understanding to be done. So you have to ask those original questions of who are you in new ways. And so we'll go over here and we have an are you. It doesn't really work, but maybe it does. You know, so you're finding your way to yay, and then you realize who you are, and you realize you have to start all over again, and you get to this place of like I or A, and then you have to start all over again. And so let's think about that word, I, A, yay, way, I, A, yay, way. So now it's your turn. I'm going to actually ask you for a couple of words. So, you know, I'll just point at you and give me a word. It doesn't have to be a magical word. It doesn't have to be an important word. It doesn't have to be an overthought word. Just whatever comes to mind.
Brown.
Brown?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, brown. Okay. Brown mind. You look like you don't want to be picked. Hat? Hat? Okay. Hat or cat? Cat, okay. There's always a cat. Okay. Brown, mind, cat. One more. Texture. Okay, brown, mind, cat, texture. Okay, so now I'm going to have you all repeat this. Brown, mind, cat, texture.
Brown, mind, cat, texture. Brown, mind, cat, texture. Brown, mind, cat, texture.
Okay, there we go. Let's repeat these words. Less. Clitoris. Energy. Wait, let's change that to more. Right?
More.
Clitoris.
Energy. More. Clitoris. Energy. More. Clitoris. Energy. More. Clitoris. Energy.
Okay, close your eyes.
More. Clitoris. Energy.
Okay, close your eyes and be silent. Think about more. Think about less. Think about more. Think about being the best version of you, the best version of self, the best version of your rock away all those bad feelings, and ask for more. Ask for more clitoris energy in your life. Ask for more positive feelings in your life. Because life is unique and life doesn't last, and life is unique, and we should all be the best versions of unique. We should all share more and be more and know more and see more. We should all share more and be more and know more and see more. As I see you through the door, I see you through the door, I see that we all want to be more, we all want to connect more, we all want to experience more of being nice, of being unique, of being clean, eat more, drink more, but be well in yourself. Don't be nasty, don't be bad, just be kind and be as sad as you need to be sometimes. But learn that happiness comes one day, and learn that happiness comes one day, and learn that happiness comes one day, and learn that happiness can come on 1 day and 2 days and 3 days and 4 days. Okay, open your eyes. So we have this blank canvas. The blank canvas is scary. The blank canvas is intimidating. What if you do something wrong? What if you make a mistake? And you can start to think about the blank canvas in a new way, in a place of freedom, and there's a place for ideas, and there's a place for possibility. So you can just take your pens and you can just use it as a dance. See where the pen wants to take you. Take you in a trance. Don't force it, don't pull it, don't be too much. To see where the pen wants to take you, like a skeleton, like a foundation, like a structure. This is the structure of the line. This is the structure of the drawing. This is the structure perhaps of my mind. As I draw, as I create this structure, as I create these lines, I don't force them, I don't push them, I just see where they want to go. I don't push them, I don't force them, I just see where they want to flow. Now I have these lines, these spaces, these pockets of times, and if I have a nose, I need a mouth, and if I have a mouth, perhaps I need two eyes. The eyes are looking at something, they're looking at me, they're looking at you. They see the truth. I love stick figures. Stick figures hold the structural integrity of the drawing. They're the most important thing of the drawing. People tell me, Chantel, I can't draw. I can only draw stick figures. And I say, great, me too, let's collaborate. And so we got these stick figures. And I love trees and I love birds. And so my birds are always in freeze because I'm from London where my TH is an F. So they're free birds. Okay, my trees are very simple. One line followed by three lines. One line followed by three lines. Words. We give words so much importance, but words are built up of lines. Words are built up of lines. You can give them as much importance as you like. Okay, what else do we have here? What clues do we have? We want it to be a sunny day, so there's the sun. We've got the sun. We've got another face here, so we're going to do another nose. You have a nose, you need a mouth, you've got a mouth, you need a couple of eyes. Like I said, the eyes are watching you, they're making sure that you're being true, they're making sure that you're knowing yourself. Okay, we've got a little triangle here, so we have like a bird's beak. We have a bird's beak, perhaps we need a bird's eye. Here we go, there's a bird's eye. Sometimes I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing, so I just do these dashes. It makes me look professional. Chantel, look professional. People watching you, okay? Looking professional. I got this other shape here, some shapes here, and I don't really know what goes here, so we do another stick figure, which is holding that structural integrity of the drawing. We got a line here, which almost looks like a triangle, like a bird's beak. So there we go. We do another bird's beak, followed by a bird's eye. There we go, nice bird's eye. My mind went blank, so I'm looking professional and keep drawing, do these little dashes. The professional. There's a little plane, and this plane is flying to New Jersey. Okay, we got some more dashes here, some more dashes. That grass is green. And don't ever think that you're above anyone, because we're all equal, we're all the same, we're all the selves. So leave those assumptions outside the door. Okay, some more dashes here. We got another little face, and this face is followed by some eyes, and some eyes, and eyes, and eyes, and dashes, dashes, dashes. And maybe here, this is what my mind looks like sometimes in time. My mind is like a squirrely mess sometimes, but it's quite organized well. Sometimes people ask me, Chantel, how do you know to stop? Chantel, how do you know when you're done? Chantel, how do you know when to walk away? And I imagine that there's this feeling called stop. And this feeling called stop is in my toes. And imagine that feeling called stop in my toes is in the form of this ink, is in the form of a line, is in the form of a rope. So when I'm drawing, what I'm actually doing is pulling the ink out, I'm pulling the line out, I'm pulling the rope out. And you can imagine if you had a lot of ink or line or rope in you, you would know when it was all out. It's not all out, so I'm going to keep drawing. We love the word you, we love the word you, we love the word you because you can always be a better, brighter version of you. Now close your eyes one last time. Think about why you walked through that door. Think about why you even woke up today. What is it you want to achieve? What is it you want to say? What is it you want to do? What is it you want to pray for? Pray for you, pray for me, pray for the world, that we live in a better day, that we clean this world and wash the waste away. Think about the world, think about you, think about me. We are all we, and we should try more to be better, try more to see better, try more to read better, try more to know learn better, try not to be better versions of ourselves. Now just feel how your body feels in the chair. Feel how your feet feel under the floor, on the floor, and feel how your backs feel on the back of the chair. And just be, and just be, and just be. Open your eyes. Enjoy life.